they can be the same. So at this present time, I'm navigating different situations where we got to get this subject matter out because we had interference from other situations, and I'm results driven. So I had to learn and educate myself and do the research and take information from other people to navigate different systems so we can get this message out. My name is Jamal Childs. I'm going to repeat this again. I'm a medical retired veteran of the United States Army. This is Conquering the Octopus TV show on WBGR TV in Hyattsville, Maryland. The proprietor there is Lionel Green. He is a veteran, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to understand that Mr. Green is allowing me to be on this platform to help you navigate the Veterans Benefits Administration and Health Administration of Veterans Affairs, which is tumultuous. Let's deal with what it is. So at this present time, can we put up our sponsor, Mr. Ron Skelton, that's in California. His podcast is How to Exit. How to Exit podcast comes on every Wednesday and Friday, approximately 9 o'clock. And this podcast is for acquisitions to teach people how to acquire businesses that are already established. And let me give you this firsthand information. He's an Air Force veteran. He's a businessman. And what he told me is this: you don't have to have money to start a business or acquire business. If you follow instructions and look at this podcast and contact him on social media, he will help you acquire businesses, or whatever business you want to do. It's all about instructions. So moving forward, we take our head off to Mr. Ron Skelton out there in California, Air Force veteran. He's doing very well for himself at this present time. But I have a surprise for y'all. We're going to pull up Mr. VA. Do we have Mr. Durham on here today? Can we put him in the screen, please? He was in 2 different branches of the military, and Mr. Durham is going to speak for himself on certain questions I want to ask him. Mr. Durham, can we pull him up, please? Mr. Durham, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Jamal. I'm doing a lot better than I was last week.
So we're talking to the general public. Okay, so certain questions I want to ask you. So you can make the announcement, but let me ask these questions after you make this announcement. The announcement's on you, sir.
Okay. Say it again, you're breaking up.
The announcement is on you, the announcement that you want to make to the general public. What do you want to announce?
First thing I want to say is that God is good and he won't fail you as long as you keep the faith and you keep serving. I spent the last 46 years fighting for a disability rating above 0. From 1978, June 1978 to this is September 19. I'm sorry, September 2024. I had a 0 rating for 46 years. That is insane. The VA just kept denying me, and kept denying me for 46 years. But I hung in there, and I kept fighting, like Jamal said, fighting the octopus. The only thing is, I didn't have any help. I had no help. I had no know-how until I met a man named Jamal who helped me. He showed me how to get in here and wrestle with this octopus. And when we started this journey in October, I was 0. I just received my disability Sunday, this past Sunday. And if it had not been for Jamal showing me how to put in paperwork, what the steps were, and things like that. And I followed instructions. I'd still be battling the octopus. That's what I got to say, Jamal.
Okay, thank you very much for your intervention. So, this is the first question I want to ask you. So the line of question comes from reasonable thought and muscle memory. I'm not looking in a book. I'm a speed reader, and I can multitask. This comes from being poor and things of this nature. So when we was coming up, they didn't have cell phones. You had to use your brain, not AI. So the first question I want to ask you is, this is the first question I want to ask you. Why did you go in the military?
Say it again.
Why did you go in the military?
Why did I go in the military?
Yes, sir.
Why did I go into the military? I went into the military because I was 18 and my parents wanted me to go to college. But I was 18 and I knew they were going to pay for it. I knew if I went in with the mindset that I had, I would mess up their money. I wouldn't be focused. So I chose to go into the United States Marine Corps so that I could get some discipline and focus and learn how to control myself so that I could be able to live a life of purpose on my own terms as an adult young black man.
So you went in two different branches of the military. Can you tell the general public and police you was in two different branches, right?
That's right. I spent. I was in the Marine Corps from 1974 to 1978, and I was in the Army from 1979 to 1980, to December the 31st, 1980.
Were you exposed to overt racism in the military in either branch?
Racism is universal in the United States.
You said racism is what?
Right.
You said it's irreversible?
Universal in the United States.
Universal. Okay.
Universal in the United States. Now, I got a caveat. Every Caucasian is not racist. Every black person is not racist. Every Hispanic is not racist. Every Asian or Indian or whatever, everybody's not racist. But you do run into people from all walks of life, all ethnic groups who are racist, and they take that with them into the military and out here in the streets in general. So I did see racism. I did see it.
So did you know that they have books on Klansmen in the military, neo-Nazis in the military, racism in the military, books and novels on racism in the military? Did you know that?
Oh yeah, and it's really prevalent today. In fact, today these groups go into the military to get the training that they need, or that equipment they need, so that they can be ready for war.
There's a lot of skinheads in the military and gangs in the military. They got books of prostitution in the military, gangs in the military. So the reason I'm having this subject matter, because you went in the military when people got mail call, wrote a letter, gave it to the mail clerk, and then boom, you would get a letter back. That's when I went in the military. Nobody had cell phones, so I'm trying to paint this picture of that you endured a whole lot that you can't talk about, and you couldn't. When I was in the service, my mother and father didn't know where I was at. They said he was in Virginia. He's in South Carolina. They didn't know where the base was at or exactly what barracks I was living in. So the picture is this. No matter I was going away from home, when I want to go away, I had to take care of myself. You still had to take care of yourself. A military base is just no different than a large city, more organized. And the part about it is the military is self-sufficient, and it's sustained itself. That military culture that me and you are in, it will never leave us. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Um, the thing about the culture that was prevalent when I was in the military, as I said, there was racism. Yes, there was. But the culture at the time when I went into the military, if you were a Marine and you saw another Marine in trouble, you helped them out. If you were in the Army and you saw another soldier in trouble, you helped him out, regardless of his race, for the most part. Again, as I said, the caveat is there were some races and they didn't hide it. White, black, you name it, they didn't hide it. But for the most part, if you saw somebody within the same type of branch of service that you were in and they were in trouble, you stopped the help. Now it's not like that. As you said, Jamal, these fringe groups, they band up together, they're in training, they're organized, and their purpose is not to serve the United States military or the United States government. They could care less. They're there to get the training. They're there to learn how to utilize the weapons and be ready for street war here in the United States. That's their ideology.
Well, long-term conversation is called domestic terrorism to a degree. And if these people act out on that ideology and the things that they collectively put together, and it's not just military people, it's all kinds of domestic terrorists walking around us and we don't know nothing about. But the reason I'm having this conversation is this, right? Do you know that it's racism in the VA? When it comes to denied claims, did you know that?
Say that one more time.
Did you know it was racism in the VA when it comes to denied claims for African Americans, Hispanics, and poor white people? Did you know that?
Oh, I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. I remember one time I wanted to file a claim for disability, and I went into the VSO.
You gotta tell people what a VSO is. Tell them what a VSO is. They don't know what that is.
The VSO is Veterans Service Organization. They have them in every VA hospital. Is to help veterans be able to navigate the VA system, whether it's medically, whether it's for disability, whether it's for rise, whatever you need as a veteran. Their job is to help facilitate you being able to get what you need in order to become whole.
Let me name some. Hold on a minute. Let me name some of them. The VFW, American Legion, Purple Heart, Disabled Veterans American, Paralyzed Veterans of American, Disabled Veterans of American. Then you got the Jewish Veterans of American, Korean Veterans of American. So it's like 30 different organizations that are accredited in the United States of America to help veterans navigate the Veterans Administration, Benefits Administration, and Health Administration. It's like 30 different organizations. So you said NAMVETS was on some of your paperwork, National Association for Black Veterans. You said that's on some of your paperwork, right?
Yes.
Okay, now let's get to what this is. So
they did.
Go ahead. They did what? What did they do?
For me?
Yes, sir. What did they do for you? You said they didn't do nothing? Okay. The truth needs no support, brother. The truth needs no support. So we are so damaged that we go to people that are not telling us the truth and not assisting us in our daily needs. I'm just telling people what it is. You can say what you want to say. You can say he's crazy. He don't know what he talking about. He ain't been around the block. Trust and believe this one. You put your destiny in other people's hands, the end result might be nothing. Is that true or not?
Absolutely. Going back to what I said, the the it was the disabled veterans. I went in and I sat down and talked to them about filing a VA claim. Guy didn't have time for me. That's what he told me. He said, I don't have time for you. And got up and escorted me out the office. Out of the VA hospital right in St. Louis, Missouri. He said, I don't have time for you. And walked me on out the office. So I reached out to the National Association of Black Veterans. I asked them, can you help me file a claim? They had me sign a form that gave them the power of attorney to be able to handle my paperwork to file my claim. They did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. I've had attorneys look at my paperwork and say, there's nothing we can do for you. I've had 5 attorneys tell me that. 5.
In 46 years.
Nothing we can do for you.
In 46 years, 5 attorneys look at your paper and say they give you nothing for you. Okay, the next question is, what made you keep on fighting? Come on, you got to tell me. I need to know this.
It's a couple things. First of all, Marines are tenacious. We keep fighting no matter what. In order to get us to stop fighting, you got to kill us. That's it. Secondly, my faith in God. Right. If God allowed the next man to get his disability, he's going to do it for me. I just have to keep pushing. I can't be lazy. I got to keep putting in the paperwork. I got to keep calling back. I got to keep doing the research, or it's not going to happen. I can't sit on my hands and expect it to happen. That's not the real world. I'm getting ready to tell y'all something. Somebody's out there listening. You cannot sit on your hands and expect it to happen. It's not. You can't start the process and don't do anything and expect it to happen. If you put your paperwork in the computer, they got algorithms that kick you out. Wait, can I say something, Jamal?
Say it. It's your hour. You got the whole hour.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
When I talked to Jamal in October, and he started telling me what I needed to do, and I followed his instructions, this is the very end, let me see, July? In July was the very first time I have ever had a compensation and pension exam in all of the times that I have filed for disability. Out of 5 times, this is the only time I got an exam. How is that possible?
God.
Because if you just put your stuff in the computer, that algorithm gonna kick it out. It's gonna kick it out.
One reason is you got to make your doctor's appointments.
See your paperwork.
People don't understand. If you don't go to the doctors, you're not gonna get nothing from these people. Or you just want to assume that it's in the records. So in your service treatment medical records, in your VA records, it can be a mirror each other, but the VA requirement is symptoms, diagnosis, treatment, and medication within 18 months with a diagnosis. That is a requirement for any service connection, any service connected increase, any new claim. That is a requirement. So you fell in the parameters within their requirements for your entitlements within 18 months. That means you went to the doctors. That means you had treatment, diagnosis, condition and the medication for those conditions. So you have what they call pre-existing claims that you could have a condition before you went in the military. Like if you had bad knees, they got exacerbated by military service. Presumptive means that is associated to your occupation in the military. Because all this is about occupational hazards. Then you can have undiagnosed conditions associated to your occupational hazard. You can have what they call secondary conditions associated to your occupational hazard. So when I say occupational hazard, what was your occupation in the military?
I was a military policeman.
What was your second occupation in the military?
Clerk.
What was your second occupation in the military?
The first one was a military policeman. The second one was a legal clerk. Then, when I got out of the Marines and went into the Army, I was a unit supply specialist and an armorer.
Did you shoot a lot of weapons in the military? Did you shoot a lot of weapons in the military? Yes or no?
Yes.
That's why you have a hearing loss, because you bust your eardrum so much that it causes bilateral hearing loss, which can cause migraine headaches, which can cause Meniere's disease, and Meniere's disease is irreversible. They don't have a surgery for that. You understand what I'm saying? So, including vertigo, all this is associated to your eardrums being bust so much. Do you have hearing aids? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, those hearing aids cost $6,000 to $9,000. So you make the symptoms, diagnosis, treatment, and medication for chronic vertigo, chronic Meniere's disease, bilateral hearing loss, and bilateral tinnitus, and maybe migraine headaches associated to the first initial condition from shooting large caliber weapons. Let me go back to this. When you was in the service, did they use earplugs or plugins in your ears when y'all was at the range of shooting these weapons?
They used little phone things that did nothing. And I want to point something else too, Jamal. Every time I was in the military, I was always on an air base, around jet planes or helicopters. In basic training in the Marine Corps, the recruit depot is right next to San Diego Airport. They have airplanes landing and taking off all day long. And in basic training, we didn't have hearing aids. We didn't have ear protection while we were standing out there on drill in the sun, hearing those loud jets take off and land. Then when I got to my duty station, I was on an air station where aircraft were landing and taking off all hours of the night, and I was a military policeman standing on the gate for hours on end, hearing those jets take off, or I was on patrolling out around the hangars and stuff where the aircraft were taking off and landing with no ear protection. Then, when I got into the Army, I was in a helicopter squadron where helicopters were taking off and landing with no hearing protection. Then, also, we had to fire weapons, like you said. We went to the range. They gave me little phone ear protection, but that was it.
So
right now,
go ahead.
All day, all night, I hear it's a loud ringing in my ears. It never stops. It never stops.
24/7.
24/7.
Did you know when you went in the military, OSHA was not prevalent as they right now when it comes to occupational hazard? So everything you explained is an occupational hazard to being around environmental hazard. So the noise is environmental hazard, the wind is environmental hazard, the chemicals are environmental hazard, it's environmental hazard, and your body absorbed that over years. So it's called, this is what they call it, nexus origin of the condition contained in service treatment medical records. Like, let's go back to this. I'm using muscle memory. The condition of the hemorrhoids is well documented in your records that this hemorrhoid condition manifests through other conditions. Yes or no?
Yes.
Guess what? They got to take care of that. You didn't go in the military with it. You didn't go in the military. You never went in the military, none of these conditions. You was a clean bill of health when you took that first physical. First you went to the recruiter, then you went to the MEP station, then you went to boot camp, you got a physical. In Marine Corps, you got a physical when you went to tech school, and in the Army, you got a physical too. So those physicals don't match your current conditions. So you went in there with a clean bill of health and came up. Well, this is what they call it, called internal medicine, because nobody can. You might look good outside, but internally, it's turmoil going in your body. If that makes any sense.
Yes.
So let's hit you with this one. I want you to ask these questions.
I went in.
Went in what? Go ahead.
Say it again.
You went in what? You went in the military what? With a clean bill of health, right?
I went in the military I went in there with a clean bill of health. I came out damaged, broken. Not only physically, I came out damaged mentally, because most people don't grow up to be killers. You and I came back from the military killers.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. We were trained to kill. Our fundamental part of training was killing. And I can't have these conversations with people unless they've been in the military, because they don't understand that they train you to do this. And it's like kill for how many hours, how many days, how many weeks. We're not making this up. So some people like, well, y'all making it up. Well, I check this out. Push the wrong buttons around here, and I'm going to show you what a raccoon do. I'm going to leave it at that. And I don't like that thought process. You understand what I'm saying?
Here's the thing. One thing, and I'm glad you said that, Jamal. One thing that people don't understand. Every soldier, every Marine, every sailor, airman, we all go to the range to learn how to shoot. If you can't shoot, if you can't hit the target the size of a man, they will put you out. Period.
Exactly.
No questions asked. No questions asked. They will put you out. If you can't shoot, you gotta go. You none.
You gotta qualify the range, ladies and gentlemen. So you have range training. The range training goes from close hand range training to long range training. So that means approximately 2 football fields, you had to hit them targets. In the rain, in the cold, in the heat, in the wind, it didn't matter. You went to the range. Okay, they told us it don't rain in the United States Army. I didn't know that until I got in there, and then I realized, don't worry about the rain, don't worry about the cold, don't worry about the heat, because you will soldier on. So since you brought that conversation on, one of the road marches was 25-mile road march with a 60 or 80-pound pack on your back, a weapon and a helmet, and you know that was some tough days there. But I never fell on a road march in the military, so you know I take my hat off to myself. I don't know how I made it. Have you ever been on the road marches?
Right, I only saw one person fall out. One.
In a road march?
Only one person fell out in the march. Only one.
They used to put trucks behind us. They used to put trucks behind us, and for the people that fell out, they used to take them and throw them in the back of the truck and just keep it moving. Or sometimes if people fell out, and this was when I was in the service, you used to walk over top of them until somebody picked them up off the ground because you could not break that formation. You could not break that formation. So if you're in that formation, depending on where you at and what you're navigating, is on land, if it's on what is it, the beach or wherever, the formation line cannot stop moving until they get an order for their line not to move. So, I was in a different military where, you went in there very young, and I was around grown men, 26 years old, and I'm 19. Some of them have been in there since they was 18 years old and things of this nature, and then they 26 and 27. So you had to keep up with grown men, and being in a grown men environment, living in the barracks was like the biggest frat party in the world. Taking showers, with new people all around the places. So we was exposed to a lot of different things, like being in different situations where it's though you had to suck it up and keep it moving, for better words. Is that true?
Yes. And man, there's so many different situations that you could be put in. Um, and it was all stress. People don't realize it's stress because you never know when you might be called to go. And it ain't no, well, can I do it tomorrow? When they say, let's go, you grab your gear and go. You don't know if you're going to see your family again, your wife, your kids. You don't know if you're going to die. You don't know if it's a real war. You don't know what. You just got to go. And it's stressful. Very stressful. And people, kids nowadays, they always say, why? Why? There is no why in the military. It's do it. Hurry up and do it. And a lot of the people nowadays wouldn't make it. I'm just going to keep it real.
Yeah, but
they wouldn't make it. A lot of the young people now would not make it.
Well, we have to have this conversation about people getting injured on their occupation, whatever their job was. People getting injured on training exercises, like you're doing physical training, as in PT, or your physical training could have been drown proofing. Your physical training could have been martial arts. Your physical training could have been basketball. Your physical training could be anything that they encompass that company or that unit decided for physical training. So people need to understand that we're talking about occupational hazards. So when you was in the United States military, no matter branch you was in, everything you did was your job. Cleaning up the barracks was your job. Picking up cigarette butts was your job. Eating in the mess hall was your job. So people say, why do you say eating in the mess hall? Because if you got stomach disorders associated to the food you eat, then that's part of your job. So if you went home on leave, ladies and gentlemen, and got in a car accident, we had one guy got in a car accident, he could file claims for him being in a car accident related to his back, his knees, and his pelvis, claims because he was on active duty. Same thing with the reserves and National Guards, and I gotta get this out. If you was in the reserves and National Guards and you got injured while you were drilling your every 2 weeks or your whole month gone somewhere, you can file claims. So people say, well, I ain't been in combat. Combat has nothing to do with it. It's more people that get injured that never been to combat than been to combat. Now, combat is a whole different situation. That's why the VA is set up to deal with combat veterans of Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and wherever else and people been at. So that's why they're separated to the point where it's though it won't be no conflict. Some people been to combat, some people ain't been to combat. I am non-combat, but I'm 100% for PTSD, and everything that's in my files is legit. I have the symptoms, diagnosis, medication, treatment, and the behavior for that 100%. That's after, Mr. Durham, after the removal of me drinking alcohol, because there's alcohol dependency on that paper. If you understand what I'm saying, you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up. People don't understand. That's just like now. If you are in a combat zone and you get shot, and they medevac you out means they fly you out in a medical hospital, medical helicopter, and they fly you to Germany and put you in a hospital, and you die in that hospital in Germany. Your death is classified as non-combat. Even though you got shot in combat. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. So we're always in a fight for our rights and our family rights, because the VA will disrespect you and your family and try not to pay them.
I'm glad you said it.
They'll try not to pay them.
I'm glad.
Go ahead. Just like Jamal said, if you get in an accident in your car while you're in the military, you're at work. I got hemorrhoids from the food in the military. I was at work. It might have been in the mess hall. It might have been in the field we was eating sea rats. I don't know where it happened, but it happened. And they are responsible because I went in the military without hemorrhoids.
So you had 2 surgeries in the military? You had 2 surgeries in the military for hemorrhoids?
I had 2 in and 2 out.
And they gave you 0% for that condition?
They gave me 0%. I was just reading my decision letter just before we... Now watch this, y'all. The VA said my decision to get, for me being classified as 0% was a fatal flaw and error. That's what it says. I just read it. Fatal flaw and error for me to get 0% back in 1978.
All right, so since they put that in...
If I had filed a claim this time, if Jamal hadn't helped me walk through the steps, I would not have known.
This is what you need to know.
Tell me?
This is what you need to know. You did the research, and at El Toro Marine Base in California, could you tell them what condition is related to you being at that base?
Being at that Marine Corps Air Station, I was exposed to jet fuel. I was exposed to toxins in the groundwater. All over the base. They closed the base in 1990 because of the toxins in the water and in the groundwater. My family was stationed there with me. We were exposed to toxins in the water. But they're trying to act like now it's no big deal.
But you found a citations. Okay, let me get this out. I'm gonna let you finish. You found VA citations that Marines were granted their disabilities from being stationed in that base. Yes or no?
Yes.
The general public don't know that, sir. They only talk about Camp Lejeune. So it's environmental hazards on all military bases. I was exposed to environmental hazards as being a welder, breathing welding fumes. I was around asbestos. I was around hydraulics. I was around diesel fuel. I was around gasoline on a consistent basis. So we'll go back to encompass this. The impropriety in the situation with your hemorrhoids, that what you're reading is a contract. So what you got to do is reconfigure yourself, get yourself together, and go back in for whatever you want or whatever you feel as though that you should be adjudicated for that condition. That one condition. You understand what I'm saying? So you've been having problems with that for what, over 30 or 40 years? The hemorrhoids. How many years?
For 46 years.
How does it make you feel reading that letter, sir? Tell the truth.
Right this minute.
How does it make you feel reading that letter? How does it make you feel reading that benefit notification letter when you read that 0%? Tell us how you feel.
Man, let me tell you. it is mind-boggling that they can get away with this. It's mind-boggling because here's the thing: nothing in my military medical records changed over the course of those 5.5, 6 years. But I was denied my claim in 1978, and then now this was just reported in October, sometime between June and October.
Okay, let me hit you with this.
It was just reported.
Let me hit you with this. This falls in a parameter. Are you listening to me, sir? Evidentiary, evidence, equiquus. It falls in the parameter of nexus. Equiquus, VA, nexus, VA, clear and unmistakable error, VA, clear and unmistakable evidence, VA, clear and unmistakable proof, VA. Are you with me? Benefit of doubt, VA, reasonable doubt, VA, just because of what they wrote you. So the VA has a disability rights book, M211RM, for disability rights. So what you do is you educate yourself on how you want to reconfigure and address that situation. That when I say the parameters of the law, the parameters of CFR Title 38, bonuses, pensions, Veterans Relief Part 4. All this is found, ladies and gentlemen, on WARMS, Web Automated Reference Material System. Brother, you can educate yourself, reconfigure, and put that paperwork in at your own onus. When I say your own onus, from your own information, your own research, and your own education. All you need is an Amazon Alexa, a laptop, a smartphone, and a regulations. This is what that service rep, this is what this service rep did not do. And I'm not saying all service reps are like that, but at the end of the day, where is the research at? You developed and put that claim together and gave it to them. You did that. They didn't do that. Right?
Right. Going back to what you were saying before this, Jamal, when you were talking about how they're talking about the Marines at Camp Pendleton, but they're not talking about the Marines at El Toro.
No, not Camp Pendleton. Camp Lejeune. We're going to say Camp Lejeune Marines.
Like Jamal.
Camp Lejeune Marines.
Jamal, I want to say this.
Go ahead.
Jamal is a researcher. I have learned to research. I discovered there are 710 military bases with toxic environmental contamination nationwide. Look it up, y'all. 710 military bases with toxic environmental contamination nationwide. That's nearly every base there is or was.
Good God Almighty. I never knew that.
710. How many people are walking around right now with stuff in their bodies, don't know why they're sick, don't know why they're dying, and they've been in the military because the military not going to tell them, the VA not going to tell them, and we got to get the word out because this not only affects us, but it affects our children. It affects our spouses if they served on the post with us. But if it affects our children because when we created them, we passed our genes on to them that was damaged by this stuff. Come on, y'all. Our bodies was damaged by being on these military posts, and they'll try to deny it. You got to do the research.
They ain't trying to deny it. They're not trying to deny it. They are denying it. We're not trying, buddy. They're not trying. So let me hit you with this. So you can go to Google and Google racial disparities with veterans on Google and you will see these cases that are going to go to the federal courts about racial disparities when it comes to adjudication for African Americans, Spanish Americans, Native Americans, and some um, poor white folks in this country. So that's the language. But the point of the matter is if you're the low man or woman on a totem pole, it's always thumbs down. That's how I feel. You can feel the way you want to feel. So what do you say about that, sir?
Um, I was just talking to my cousin this afternoon. He was in the Air Force. He was on his way to his barracks. They had a barricade in front of the barracks. He walked through the barricade, just on the edge of it. The Air Force police officer stopped him. He was almost in his barracks and told him, come back and walk around. He said, why would I walk around when I'm 5 feet from the door? 5 feet from the door, and the Air Force police officer wrote him up, and he spent 15 days locked up because of that. Because he was black, the Air Force police officer was white. He was 5 feet from being inside the barracks. The guy wanted him to walk all the way back out, then walk all the way around when he was already inside. Make that make sense.
It's called not following orders. So they come under some mandate for in their jurisdiction to do that. So arbitrarily we can say that it's wrong, but you gotta prove the negligence and discrimination within a particular situation. I understand exactly what you're saying, but racism is no one paintbrush for racism. I occurred overt racism in the military around white folks that never seen blacks before, and a white guy said, "You know what? I'm gonna kick your Nigger ass." I looked at him like, "Not today." We was in the mess hall. The black sat over there and the white sat over there. This is in 1984. It was different situations and scenarios where people were having fist fights outside the barracks and behind the motor pool, and they would allow us to fist fight with gloves when I was in the service. I've seen people get hazed, tied to trees, and shaving cream put on naked. So they said, "We're gonna do that to you, Charles." Told that white guy, "That's never gonna happen. This is for better choice of words." And I physically had to put my hands on one of them in the field at AP Hill named Sanders from Ohio. Said, "I'm gonna kick your Nigger ass" in the field, and they let me and him fight. And I only weighed what 145. He was already 200 something pounds, and I made a day of him. And letting you know right now, because my daddy said, "You go in there and go in there and be a man. You come out there a man. You do not let nobody touch you." I was instructed that you already know what to do. You don't let nobody touch you. Don't put your hands on people. Don't steal from nobody. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Blah blah blah. Well, my father told me, "You go in there, man, and you come out there, man." I already know what that means. Nobody's having sex with nobody around here. You understand? Stuff like that goes on too, because more men get raped in the military and sexually assaulted in the military than women in national statistics. What was you gonna say, sir?
Yeah. I had an experience similar to that. I'm in the military. I weighed 120 pounds.
Right.
120. I had this big white guy tell me what he was going to do to me. And I told him, I said, "We're going to fight." I said, "If you put your hands on me, we're going to fight." I said, "But I want you to keep one thing in mind. Women charge of weapons. Do you want to put yourself at risk messing with me knowing I got access to weapons?" And he turned around and walked away because I was dead serious. If he jumped on me and he won, I was going to kill him. They trained me to be a killer. That's what they did. And if he jumped on me, I was going to kill him. Period.
So, ladies and
I
gentlemen,
was gonna fight.
this was before they had
But
cell phones. Can you tell me before they had cell phones, a lot of stuff was hidden, right?
that was before cell phones, before pagers. All none of that existed.
You was on your
None
own.
of that existed.
You was on your own, wasn't you?
You was on your own.
You had to take care of yourself, didn't you, man?
You was on your own. That's right. And I wouldn't let it happen. I was a little guy. I grew up in a neighborhood where you don't let nobody push you around.
What neighborhood?
I'm
I'm from
guy.
Baltimore, Maryland. Where
I
you
was a
from?
little guy.
Where you
I'm
from?
a little guy now.
Where you from? I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. Where you from?
I weigh 185 now.
Where are you from? I said, where are you from?
Say that again.
Where are you from?
St. Louis.
Born-
St. Louis.
I'm from Baltimore, so we got some.
St. Louis, Missouri.
We got some comparisons around here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It goes down in the neighborhood. You don't stand and let nobody do something to you. My daddy told me this, Jamal. He said, if somebody put their hands on you, pick up a brick, a stick, whatever it takes, and bust I can't say the word, head. The word begins with a D. I'm a Christian. I don't say those words. But he says you pick it up and you bust their head and you keep hitting them till they stop moving.
You see my mother looking at you?
That's what he said.
You see my mother looking at you? You see that picture? I do what mother said.
Yeah.
So this dude was messing with me one time, and she said, get out my house, don't run in my house no more, and came to the gate, said, kick his hind parts right there and stood. I was so scared of my mother from South Carolina more than the boy.
Right.
I think I was like 13 years old. So mama said, handle the business. So ladies and gentlemen, we're not promoting violence, but there's a lot of violence going on in the world today, in the world back then. The only difference now is the violence can be recorded. And they taught us how to be violent, but you had to be violent under control. If that makes any sense, right? Now,
Yep.
out of all these
I didn't grow up bullying nobody. I didn't grow up starting no fights. But I was not letting anybody hurt me. Period.
So moving forward,
And they taught me how to shoot.
Of course, we know that.
They taught me how to shoot. How to shoot a rifle and a pistol. I was a military policeman. I couldn't be a military policeman if I couldn't hit the target with that 45. They taught me how to do it.
So moving forward, how are you going to continue on addressing your in particular situation with the Veterans Benefits Administration and Health Administration and Veterans Affairs? How you want to move forward?
Well, I still have some work to do. They're still adjudicating some of my claims. I still have to get things done for my family. I have to get identification. I have to make sure that none of what is owed to me from the VA falls through the cracks. See, you got to still be vigilant. Just because Jamal is 100%, he ain't still. That don't mean he stopped looking at the regs.
No.
He's looking at everything. He's helping somebody, but he's looking to see what applies to him. I got to look at this stuff every day because just because I got rated don't mean that something can't fall through the cracks or that there's not something additional that is owed to me. People that were exposed to the toxins at Camp Lejeune, if they got 100% disability rating, well, the Camp Lejeune fund is additional money that's owed to them outside of their 100% rating.
Right.
When the VA finally opens up and owns up to what happened at El Toro, and they determine that I'm eligible for the money, I'm going to apply for it.
Well, that falls on the PAC.
Because
That falls on
I've been waiting.
That falls on the PAC Act. That's already open.
Yes, that's what I mean. The PAC Act.
Yes.
Yeah, that PAC Act is separate from disability. And oftentimes people don't know you can get both.
They don't know that. You just told them.
The VA, see, the VA wants y'all to think they broke. See, y'all wasn't listening when Jamal said they got 490 million. I'm sorry, billion.
409
That
billion,
they
brother.
holding on when they fight.
They only use 44.
Huh?
409 billion. They only utilize 40 to 40% of their budget in 12 months. Okay. So somebody asked me, what do you do with the rest? I'm not worrying about that part. How do I know what they do with the rest when they allocate it from Congress? I mean, just like we're trying to figure out 2025. I'm trying to figure out what, you know, this guy that want to run back again. There was a draft dodger and all this stuff like this. I'm trying to figure out what he's saying. I'm trying to figure out what the woman is saying. That's the vice president. You try to put all this stuff together. You still at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it don't matter who take this seat. Your bills ain't going down. And when you go to the gas station, it don't say Republican or Democrat. When you go to the supermarket, it don't say Republican or Democrat. And check this out. They're not rolling no prices back. So let's get out the big bamboozle thinking somebody's going to help it, because it's not helping it. It's more homeless white folks down here in Orlando, Florida, Tampa, Florida, Hollywood, Florida, in every other part of Florida I've been to. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I have never seen this many Caucasians white in my life.
St. Louis, everywhere.
So how they going to say it's an Afro-American thing when they out here on these streets too? So who are they lying to? Because what they say, their people, they say make America great again. And guess what? America was great when they was hanging Native Americans and killing slaves. That's when America was great. Is that what he mean by that? Because he need to tell me what you mean by that. Make America great again. And if he do get the seat, at the end of the day, they only, man, this thing is all about money. Corporation and government. It's fascist. You ain't got no money, you can forget it out here. What were you going to say, sir?
I was going to say, the one that says make America great, nobody that's saying make America great again will tell you what that actually means. And nobody on the Democratic ticket will actually tell you what they're going to do to help you and your family get out of poverty. They're not going to do it.
Thank you.
The only way you're going to be able to help yourself is you got to help yourself. You got to research for yourself. They're not going to do it. The VA has a duty to assist you, but they won't.
Okay, we got to leave on that note.
They won't.
We got to
They
leave.
will assist me.
We got to leave on that note. They didn't assist you. God bless you. We love you. We're going to continue to help you. Mr. Durham, Mr. VA, we love you. God first, all the time, for real.
Always God first.